his time to officially sign with the Steelers this offseason. He got another ring, this one for marriage, we think. And now hopes to add another one with the Pittsburgh Steelers before the sun sets on his career. Former Steelers quarterback Ben Roethlisberger has high praise for that bad man.
Well, I would take Aaron in his prime over Patrick now. I think Aaron Rodgers in his prime was one of the top few to ever do it, and so is Patrick Mahomes in his prime. Patrick Mahomes is just like entering out of his prime. I think.
You think?
I mean, yes, I think Patrick Mahomes is a phenomenal. He's going to go down as a another arguable GOAT.
Mm-hmm.
There's only like one GOAT.
We've got Dan Graziano, Mike Tannenbaum joining us for this one. Mike T, do you agree with the Big Ben assessments? Was the prime Rodgers better than the prime Mahomes?
I would probably take the prime Mahomes. It's close, and I think sometimes we don't give Aaron Rodgers his due, just given all the noise of the last couple of years. When you look at Aaron Rodgers' career and you look at it in its totality, 548 touchdowns, 262 starts, 4 MVPs, and you go back to that 2011 season where he had 45 touchdowns and only 6 interceptions. I think we forget because last couple of years have been weird, disjointed, whatever you want to describe it. But at one point, he was an all-time great. The thing about Patrick Mahomes that gives me, if we're in the prime, a little bit of a balance is the athleticism, the arm strength. But we're talking about 2 of the all-time best.
The winning. Patrick Mahomes has won 17 playoff games in 8 years in the league. Aaron Rodgers in his first 8 years as a starter won 8 and has won 11 total. So Aaron Rodgers is one of the best throwers of the football of all time, maybe the best pure thrower of the football that we've ever seen. But when you talk about quarterbacks, you talk about elevating teammates, you talk about leadership, you talk about going from good to great when you're at that level. Rodgers, in spite of multiple opportunities, was only able to win the Super Bowl once, did not do what Mahomes has done. Mahomes had nothing last year, won 15 games. Where's that Aaron Rodgers season?
All right, it's an argument we can make. Let's talk about Aaron Rodgers, prime, and Mahomes, right? Mahomes has more completions, better completion percentage, more yards, more touchdowns, better first and third down percentage, more Pro Bowls, 3 times as many Super Bowls than Aaron Rodgers did during that prime, during last few years of Mahomes. Other than that, you have a good argument, right? Like I just don't see how this is anywhere close. Then you add in the team success, and I'm not even sure is Mahomes in his prime yet. Like we're not even sure.
Talking about
29. Right. He's 29. We're not even sure he's there yet, and we're already talking about somebody whose stats are better than Aaron Rodgers' prime years. Like this is not even close to me.
The source of the argument makes no sense to me. Ben Roethlisberger's career was all about winning. He won 15 games his first season in his career. As a starter, he was not very good in that season. Why would Ben Roethlisberger focus on the non-winning part of quarterback? It doesn't make any sense. I don't mean to be disrespectful, if Dan Marino did that, and Dan Marino's like, I think Aaron Rodgers in his prime better than Patrick Mahomes, the source of the argument makes a lot of sense because Marino is an unbelievable individual player that did not win a Super Bowl. Ben won 2. That's what you should be judging guys on if you're Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah, and here's the other side of the Rodgers discussion, guys. If we put Aaron Rodgers into this Kansas City Chiefs offense with Andy Reid, what would that have looked like? We'll never know. But that, to me, if you want to say that, could Aaron Rodgers' prime be better than Patrick Mahomes? That's a great incomplete. And the inverse is, what would Patrick Mahomes been like with some of those Green Bay teams? We'll never know that.
Yeah, I just look at this and think also, like what you just said, we're playing on hypotheticals, obviously, that never could happen. Why would we assume Aaron Rodgers in his prime would sign up to be coached that way by Andy Reid? Where's the example of that?
Yeah, well, was Andy on that Niners coaching staff when they passed on Rodgers in the first round? No, he was gone by then, right? But yeah, he could have been there. He could have been in other situations. All we can judge is what happened, right? And Aaron Rodgers' career has happened, and it's great. It's Hall of Fame, first ballot, slam dunk, one of the best I've ever seen. Every time I got to watch this guy play in person, I considered myself fortunate to have been there. But he didn't do ever what Mahomes has already done, and Mahomes is what, halfway through?
Well, I mean,
maybe not.
Roethlisberger, to answer your original question, there is a kinship between Roethlisberger and Aaron Rodgers. The fact that towards the end of their career, they're much maligned by a lot of people for stuff that doesn't not necessarily have to do with their on-field stuff. So these guys ended their careers with a lot of people, not really liking them, and I think he probably feels that he wanted to stick up with somebody who's been in a similar position where he is for kind of different reasons.
So I want to go one step further on this. So when we look at Aaron Rodgers and we think about his career, while he was playing at the same time as Tom Brady, we would look at him and say, well, he's the most talented thrower of the football, which is just an excuse for he hasn't won enough, right? And so the problem for Rodgers, I think Mahomes is the worst thing to happen to his career because he would always lose the debate to Brady and Manning based on the winning, but he would win the debate based on the talent. And then when a guy comes in who has more talent and has won more, what's the top line of the resume? It's the 4 MVPs. Peyton Manning did the same thing.
And I think one of the other things, the other top line, is his durability. He's did it for a long time. And be it athletically, be it the way he kept himself in shape, protect himself, that is a key component to when we're assessing quarterbacks. Like we just talked about Dak Prescott, who the 2 of the last 3 years didn't finish the season. That's going to hurt where, now look, he's not even in that conversation. But the point is, I think if you want to add durability, that's another massive point in Aaron Rodgers' corner.
I think when you look at, talk about Brady, right? Like he had the great early success, he had the great late success, he went to a different team and had success. Like that's consistency throughout. Rodgers goes to a Super Bowl in his 2nd season as a starter, and then he never sees it again. We've heard all the talk about how that's not all his fault, and fair enough, right? It's a team sport, I get it. But at some point, you have to do what Mahomes did this past year, which is lug a substandard roster into the Super Bowl, even though it's not helping you out. And we never saw Aaron Rodgers do that.
Yeah, and I know that Mahomes won a Super Bowl they were leading the league in drop passes. They guys could not catch a pass, and he won a Super Bowl that way. The question just comes down to this. We can do numbers all day. We can do it, we talk about James Harden and all his numbers in the NBA side of it. NFL is the same way. We can talk numbers all day. I'm picking a player in their prime to win me a game in the playoffs, win me a Super Bowl. I'm picking Mahomes before Aaron Rodgers. And I think it's probably going to be a unanimous choice.
Yeah, I don't know that there's anybody in the world that would think otherwise with that. And I think that you would?
No, I think Aaron Rodgers' wife would.
Ben Roethlisberger.
Ben Roethlisberger.
That's 2.
You're right about that. Okay, so we're up to 2. I would also add on this part with Rodgers that what you just said about winning that big game, Patrick Mahomes has gotten past, in my opinion, the idea of caring about numbers in the regular season or caring about any game that's not played in February. And Aaron Rodgers has never been past that. Is there a game he has one game to win every year, Patrick Mahomes. It's the Super Bowl. Graz, no?
Well, look, if you look at their regular season last year, there were, how many, one-score games? Ridiculous. Games they could have lost, games they should have lost. He finds a way. And so he respects that part of the season, too, and the need of being the 1 seed, right? Getting the home field advantage in the playoffs, getting the bye week. So he definitely weighs those games significantly. But yeah, I think the point you're getting at is like success for Mahomes is on a different level because of what he achieved so early in his career. And I think Rodgers just desperately trying 15 years later to get back to a 2nd Super Bowl versus a guy that is furious because he finally lost one after winning 2 straight. Well, I think there's a big difference.
Testament to Mahomes' greatness. When did you believe the Chiefs were going to lose their Super Bowl this last Super Bowl? Like at what point did you say I don't believe that Mahomes is going to make this?